Welcome once again to Leto's Law. Here's Steve Leto.
We've talked recently about recalls, the ones mandated by NHTSA, National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, says that if an automaker in America discovers a problem with its cars that are safety-related problems, that they must, issue a recall and fix those cars and trucks for free. And so that is a safety recall. And there's been a headline recently that is a real attention grabber. But it's actually not as bad as the headline would suggest when you think about it. But it's an interesting topic. More than 500,000 heavy-duty Ram trucks recalled to fix problem that can cause the wheels to fall off. So obviously, in the grand scheme of things you want your vehicle to do or not do, you don't want it to have its wheels fall off. Okay? So it's not a good thing. The Associated Press published a story widely reported everywhere, including the Baltimore Sun. And of course, you can go to NHTSA's own website and find copies of recalls, nhtsa.gov. But Fiat Chrysler said Friday that it is recalling more than 500,000 heavy-duty Ram trucks to fix a problem that can cause the wheels to fall off. The recall covers certain 2012 through 2021 Ram 3500 heavy-duty pickups and Ram 4500 and 5500 cab chassis vehicles, mainly in North America. Trucks have dual rear wheels and flanged lug nuts. And it's the flanged lug nuts that play into the story. Fiat Chrysler, of course, is now owned by a company called Stellantis. And they said some service and owner's manuals had the wrong torque specs for tightening the lug nuts that hold the wheels to the hubs. If the nuts were tightened too much, the wheel studs could be damaged and the wheels could come off. So it's a problem not with the wheels themselves leaving the factory. It's the instructions on how to tighten the lug nuts that could cause problems, because if people follow the wrong instructions, then it can cause the damage that makes those wheels fall off. The company said it does not know of any crashes or injuries caused by the problem, so they're trying to get ahead of this thing. Fiat Chrysler says the wheels were tightened properly at the factory, so the only affected vehicles would be those that have had their wheels removed for service. So if you've got one of these vehicles, and again, this is 2012 through 2021 Ram 3500, 4500, and 5500s with the dual rear wheels, and those wheels have ever been taken off, put back on, and someone followed the instructions, you need to have them looked at. Dealers will correct the manuals and inspect and replace wheel studs if needed. Owners will be notified within 8 weeks. So if you've got one of these vehicles and it's registered, you should get notified within 8 weeks. And again, it's a problem more with the manuals and the specifications that were issued to the dealers. I'm assuming with shop manuals and so on. And then, of course, the owner's manual. And I'm not sure who reads their owner's manual when it comes to how to tighten the lug nuts on your vehicle. Most people I know simply tighten them by feel. The same way you can put air on a bike tire and feel how much pressure's in it. If we've done it for decades, it can't be wrong, right? But this reminds me, and because this is a Chrysler story, we got to talk about this. When I was in high school, I owned a 69 Dodge Charger, the car that's based upon a 69 Dodge Charger. And when I bought the car, first car I owned, I bought it for $300. And when I bought the car, I discovered very quickly that it had an oddity about it with respect to its wheels. On the left-hand side of many older Mopars, the lug nuts were reverse threaded. So on the passenger side of the car, the two wheels, the lug nuts were righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, as we say. On the driver's side of the car, they were righty-loosey, lefty-tighty. Of course, no one says it out loud. You just think that. And the way you would know this, by the way, is at the end of the lug. If you look at the end of the lug, it would have the L stamped into it to let you know it's a left-hand thread. And that has something to do with the notion that as the wheels are going down the road, rolling like this, it might have an effect physically upon the lug nuts themselves, and it's going to be always tightening the lug nuts on the right-hand side, but it'll be loosening the lug nuts on the left-hand side, in theory. Now, of course, if they're torqued down properly, it's probably not a problem. And in fact, Chrysler appears to have stopped doing that right around 1974. But I can tell you that I brought my Charger in places to have worked on it, and I'd have to remind them, by the way, don't forget, driver's side, left-hand threads. And it's the same way that people didn't understand how keys worked back then. In the old days, your car key often had a set of teeth on one side, not on both sides. People are not going, wait, Steve, what about fobs? No, talking about car keys. And Chrysler's, the teeth went up. GM teeth went down. Ford often had double-sided at one point. So you had to remember this little idiosyncrasy of the car. And if you go online right now, and I encourage you to do this if you're really bored, type in left-hand Mopar lug nuts, and you will get reams of stories from the old days for guys that say, I had a car that had left-hand threads on the driver's side of the car, brought it in for service, and I hear some guy back there, torturing an impact wrench, and then all of a sudden something snaps, and there's a lot of swearing and consternation, and the guy then realizes what he's done. And stories of people busting off the lugs because they were reefing in the wrong direction. Commonplace. So one of the reasons that Mopar apparently stopped doing it is that on the one hand, theoretically, it makes sense as long as everything's working in theory. The downside, of course, is that people didn't know, people forgot, people broke these things, and it's like, well, it's a trade-off, and at this point, we're losing the trade. So the real issue here is it's 2 o'clock in the morning. You're driving home from Ann Arbor, college town, and you have like an hour to go. You're out on the freeway someplace. It's late at night. It's raining. It's dark out, and you get a flat tire on the driver's side of your car. You pull over to the side of the road. You get far enough off the road that you can work on it. It's late at night. There's cars coming, but not that many. No one's going to help you. It's raining. It's dark out. You get out the big old jack, the type that goes on the bumper, and you're going to jack your car up on the, using the bumper. And you jack the car up, and then you got that, you bring the thing over there, and you're reefing on these lug nuts. Like I said, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And after you spend about half an hour out there screaming, yelling, and cussing, you realize, oh, wait, these are left-hand threads. And because it's pitch black out, you didn't notice the big L on the face of the lug. So very, very crazy. But, many bicycles to this day do have left-hand threads on the left-hand side of the bike with that pedal, if you're looking at it from how you sit. But again, it's such a weird concept that this reminded me of that story. But the dualies on these vehicles, that's the key. Okay, so it has nothing to do apparently with the front wheels. It's the backs. And I also had a set of dualies. I had 2 sets of dualies on my M35 Deuce and a Half Army truck. And if you've never owned dualies, it's a whole different experience because there's a lug nut that goes onto a lug to hold a typical tire on. But when you have 2 tires, and then you have to put the first one on and put the second one on, and they often have a situation where the one tightens this way, the other one tightens this way. Otherwise, you could never quite... It's a mind bender, but that's another story altogether. So here's the deal. If you've got a Ram built between 2012 and 2021, and it's a 3500, 4500, or 5500 with dual rear wheels, if those wheels have ever been removed, it's important you have them checked to make sure that nothing got damaged in the process because the various things from the factory gave improper torque specifications. And, crazy world we live in. I've discussed torquing things before. And, like I said, in the old days, people would just tighten until they felt tight. Nowadays, with a digital torque wrench, and you can tighten them to an exact torque specification. If the spec says this, people tighten it to that. And there you go. So there's the story. More than 500,000 heavy-duty Ram trucks recalled to fix problems that can cause the wheels to fall off. In theory, because there have been no reported injuries or deaths, and we're not even sure how many times it's happened, if at all, but they are going to look into it and check it. And again, the work is free. You may as well do it. So there you go. From the Baltimore Sun, sent to me by Donald, Stephen, and Fred. Thanks a lot, guys. Questions or comments, put them below. Otherwise, I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. There are 2 great days in a person's life: the day we are born and the day we discover why.